Well, once again, welcome to the biolocation team. And we've been up to our adventures again, and this time it's dealing with stones. Now, the last time we dealt with the stones, we wrote a big book about it called The Secret of the Stones. And in that book, we showed that down at Stonehenge, contrary to popular belief, that the giant Sarsens had been tooled by iron tools, and that the vehicles that had brought them on site were in fact shod with iron tires. So by using science, if you like, and sort of investigative procedures, we were able to identify when the Sarsens were put up. Not to the day, but to the actual period, and very much the Iron Age. Now, stones contain a lot of information, and for years we have been puzzled by particular markings on stones. And this is one of the stones that we've been puzzled by. And if you look at it, you can see the paint marks, and when we analyze it, we can pick up the wood sort of stuff that they use with paints, the egg white, and the actual pigments as well. And for years we studied these patterns thinking that there was some secret message and there was some secret alphabet that we could actually eventually decipher. Anyhow, we haven't made much progress on that front, but today is the 19th of July 2015, and yesterday we discovered what these stones are for. And they hold a magnetic memory. And this one that I'm holding, in fact, if you put it on the ground, it develops a three-dimensional hologram of a stag, complete with antlers and everything. Enormous detail of that stag is embedded in a magnetic form in this stone. Now, how the Druids did it, we do not know. But what we do know now is that these stones, particularly the ones with markings on, now contain, if you like, a magnetic photographic memory of what happened thousands of years ago. Now, having discovered that, I immediately remembered that I had stones that I'd picked up in North Wales near Borth, and these stones, because of their markings, again had been a complete mystery. And so what we did was to place one on the ground, and I'll just walk over now to this stone that we've been using, and here it is. And the reason it attracted our attention was that it not only did it have painting on it, but it had obvious inscriptions of some sort. They'd been carved, something had been done to it. And so the question arose as to whether this stone had a magnetic memory of a single point in time thousands of years ago. And the answer to that is that it does. And the memory it has is of a ship. Now, the ship we can date fairly accurately to the early Bronze Age, because the bronze on it contains arsenic. So it's early Bronze Age. Now that is about 5,000 years ago, maybe a bit more. So a memory of a ship 5,000 years old has come through to the present time. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the bow and tell you about this ship as we move down towards the stern, and you're going to be quite surprised about what these guys were doing 5,000 years ago in terms of ship construction. So let's just move to the bows. And it's like an ordinary sailing ship, if you like. It's got a bow, and because it's a three-dimensional system, you can actually look under it and see how the bow curves back as it goes to the water. Out the front is a bowsprit, and that immediately tells you that they were into the use of sails, which means we're going to find the mast further back. And you can actually find the ropes by using bilocation. You can find the ropes going from here up to the mast, and it's got a jib sail, and the jib sail is made of wool, so fairly heavy fabric, particularly when it gets wet. Now this part of the ship is decked, so there's a bit of a deck here, and also there's a sort of mini mast sort of going up there, which we think is possibly something with a carving on it or something like that, maybe religious or sort of spiritual thing at the front of the ship there. Now as we go back, the decking finishes about here, and then we come to the thwarts where the oarsmen are, and it's easy to identify the chemical traces of the oarsmen, both from their feet and from the material of their pants. And there are two oarsmen on either side, so there are two guys on this side, two guys on that side, and there are in fact 4 seats. Now as we move back a bit, we actually do come to the mast, and the mast is made from pine, and it's about 8 feet high. It sort of goes up to about 8 feet up there, and you can pick up the ropes that are coming from the mast going down to the points where they're secured to the gunwales, and they're actually secured to brass points where they can tie the ropes up. The wool sail stretches across here, so, and in point of fact it's actually ballooning as if it's catching wind. Now in the keel you've got the ballast, so down in the keel there's a lot of granite blocks sort of to give it sort of weight down there and stabilize it. Then you've got the seats. We've just put in where the oars are, and we've just shown that they're actually, the oarsmen are moving forward in order to take a stroke, so we've got the oar sloping back. Now when you move further back, and we've got another thwart, another 2 oarsmen, then another one with another 2 oarsmen. There is a gap in the centre here where we think passengers or cargo can in fact be positioned and stored. And then we come to the stern of the ship, and here we come to another surprise for a ship of this age, and that is that it's steered by a rudder. And so you've got a helmsman and a rudder. It's not steered by an oar out on the side. So although this is 5,000 years old or thereabouts, we've got a fairly modern looking ship which is powered by sail, limited sail, but also by oarsmen as well. It's a fairly big one in that you've got something like 20 people that we've identified on it, so there are actually 20 people, and there are probably more in terms of passengers and other people. And so we've now identified another secret of the Druids. Their records are stored magnetically in stones, and this is going to open up a whole new area of archaeology. And it's opening up because we now are beginning to understand the science of the quantum world. And this is a quantum phenomena where the magnetic environment of the time has actually been stored magnetically in a piece of rock, and that generates this hologram of the ship. And in every detail, when we start looking at it in close detail, we'll be able to find out which of the guys have got blisters on their hands. You know, the precision of bilocation is that good. We'll find out whether it's a long seafaring one, in other words, whether there's water and food and everything on board. And if we get at the cargo, we'll be able to find out what its job was in terms of sailing around the seas. So this ship was active off Borth in West Wales, northern part of Wales, and it was out in the sea, and it was associated with presumably a druidic temple or something like that, and the druids of the time were able to record this ship as a going entity with its crew on board, with wind in its sails, as a magnetic photograph in that piece of stone. So I hope any of you seeing stones on the sands over at Borth now will treat every stone with respect. It may pack an enormous story. Thank you for listening.